students, even though we're getting close to lunch, I would invite you to listen to this presentation, because at the end of this presentation, I will tell your future bosses that they have to pay you more. And inside the presentation are the 4 or 5 points that you will need to negotiate with them in order for them to perhaps agree, although it is one of the most difficult negotiations. Oh, I didn't take my clickers. I'm going to take that one. Thank you. If I may not introduce myself, but tell you that we have worked this year and last year in a number of destinations. I'll let you take a look at them, but you see that those are destinations that are very much across the world. And the ones that I picked here are all destinations which, within their strategy, within their planning, within their operational setup, have asked questions around what should we do in people management, talent, development, hospitality education. What do we need to think of that we haven't thought so far? So the topic today is tremendously well chosen, and what's quite pleasant is that you're in very good company on one hand, but at the other hand also a slight, perhaps, alert that other destinations are also looking very closely these days at what needs to be done to perhaps capture guests more through the experience of the people rather than just through the building or the product. If our predictions are correct, and the predictions of many other, you will probably have, as Portugal and Madeira this summer, a fantastic year. All the signs show that visitors are going to be up, ADR is going to be up, RevPAR is going to be up. Not a bad thing, a good thing. But the question is, what are you going to do if the people come and don't like it? What are you going to do, you and other destinations, if they tweet back and say, don't come to Madeira, it's boring. Don't come to Lisbon, they're rude. I know, I'm from Switzerland, we get these tweets all the time. We have beautiful mountains and very rude people, so it works very well. But perhaps not use us as an example. And really, that's the topic of investing in talent. What has changed is a lot of things, mega trends. We hear them all over. We heard them very well explained this morning. But the main thing that has changed is this little silly box. And by the way, I promised my wife I was going to do this. Since I have you all here for once, if you could get together a little bit, I can take a picture. So, I have my selfie now. But the fact is, this is true. As soon as I get off stage, I will put this on my social channels, and before the gentlemen that are taking pictures here have shared them with your press office and have written the press release and sent them through the press agency, just through my Twitter channels and everything, and I'm not a very good social media guy, 15,000 people will have read it already. And if I happen to not like it, don't worry, I like it, but if I will happen to not like it, you're already in a defensive position. So that has very much changed. Yes, sustainability has changed, shift to different shapes of tourism has changed, demographic, social change, you will see more Chinese, more Indian, more old people, all of these things happen. But in the area of talent management, or of how the shifts in what's happening to tourism is relevant for talent management, the really important one that changes the way that we would propose to you to manage tourism is social media. Why? Not because, well, I'm a consultant, so I must love social media, but in general, the big issue is what we call disintermediation. Many of you have probably been in tourism for 20, 30, 40 years. If you recall 20 years ago how a tourism marketing and promotion campaign was done, it was probably 5 to 10 people that were involved. A few people sat in an office, and I'm not saying that it was bad, that was the best way to do it at the time. A few people sat in an office, said, what are the messages that we want to communicate about Madeira? Then you had one official photographer that took the most beautiful pictures of the ones that you wanted, of the hotels and beaches that you wanted. Then you had one public relations campaign, and you had to speak to 2 or 3 people at TUI, Thomas Cook, Kuoni, etc. And that portrayed the official picture through catalogs and through your travel agents into Europe. And at the time, that was the absolute exact way to doing it. But if you think about how a guest journey works these days, that doesn't work like this anymore. 65% of persons under 40 have said that they do not trust what companies or destinations write about themselves. Right? They say, well, of course you say only nice things about yourself. I mean, it's you, right? You want to just trick me into coming. So what nowadays tourists and visitors do is really the search for alternative sources of information. They look to what their friends say, to what persons from their same nationality, same age group, same interest group, bicycling, scuba diving, whatever, hiking, say about a specific destination. They do it in the awareness, in the planning. They go look at what other tourists said. Oh, why did he on Booking.com only give a 7.9? Why on TripAdvisor did this person say, oh, nice building, but the staff is very rude, or nice staff, but the building is very ugly, right? Then the booking, you don't have control over the booking anymore. You can't steer them in the right categories to the same extent anymore. And then the whole arrival, stay, and departure, and post-stay, it is all outside the control of the official tourism executives. I'm not sure that that's good or bad, but it is a reality. And a lot of my clients come to me and say, this is really unfair what it is written about me on TripAdvisor. But it doesn't matter, because this is what is written about you. Even if it's a fake review of your hotel, that is certainly not very nice. But until you do something about it, or until you have developed a team and resources that can handle these reviews, that's what people read about you. And the guy in Shanghai doesn't necessarily do the detailed filtering about saying, ooh, that was probably a fake review, but this one is a right one. So basically, what has happened is that the official tourism marketers, tourism owners, tourism executives have lost propaganda control over their own property, destination, service. However, who has not lost that is the people in your destinations, as we heard before. If you see a lot of these elements, staff, and this goes back into service we heard before, also about collaboration with the locals, staff, locals, team members, call them whatever you want, people that deliver the experience within the organization, within the destination, have the possibility, those are actually Portuguese reviews, but there's plenty more, to really influence this. If they are properly selected, properly recruited, properly trained, rewarded, celebrated, etc., they will actually not just like 20 years ago be a technical deliverer of a folded napkin, of a clean bed, of a nice wine, but will have the ability, and already have the ability now, to influence how your guests perceive the destination, how about they communicate about your destination, and most importantly, whether they spend and come back. One of the elements, and now students, I said I'm always going to get you more pay. Bosses, I'm sure there's a few bosses in here as well. What that also means is that proper training, proper talent development now increasingly gives you also the possibility to use your teams, your staff, as upsellers, as profit centers. Quite often, in a classical way, staff was always seen as a cost element. If you talk about a P&L, you say, what's your biggest cost factor? Well, staff. That's kind of like a very negative point of view of seeing it about it, but assume that you can use them more as a profit center, because quite frankly, many tourism destinations, marketers, spend crazy amount of money getting people into the destination and then don't do anything to get them to spend while they're here. My country, Switzerland, we've just successfully spent 200 million in tourism marketing to produce a reduction of room nights of 7%. Super. Was not my assignment. But if you think about it, what your staff, with proper training, not the classical training, which will always be a requirement of the technical skills of cooking, of cleaning, of hosting, of delivering, but using them in a social context, in a social media context, to accommodate the cultural differences through cultural sensitivity training, to promote the destination by being able to say, well, I'm a taxi driver, but while I have you 20 minutes in my car, let me tell you a little bit about what you can do here. Let me tell you about the festivals that are going on right now. Let me tell you about this nice little fish restaurant where you will have a very authentic experience. Upselling and cross-selling product. Yesterday I had a great walk through town, and I was trying to see if someone would upsell me. If someone would actually ask me to spend money. Nobody did. Now, it was nice, and I think it was done out of politeness, not to disturb me, but here I am. I have 4 hours. I was wearing a suit like this, so, it was obviously available. Nobody asked me to spend money. So fine, I went back to the hotel. The upselling and cross-selling process, something that very much is something that should be part of training. Influencing the image of the destination, also by tweeting yourself, rather than just having somebody do one official Twitter account. Tell you people, please tweet about. Actually, students, you know what? I'm going to say differently. Let's not just pay them more. Let's also give them a free iPhone, if they don't have one. Because that's a multiplicator of the positive messages about your destination. Influencing the individual customers, loyalization, and lastly, manage complaints. In order to make sure that you minimize the amount of complaints that you get on a Booking.com or TripAdvisor, and those are very influential in the buying decision, just to make sure that they're able to capture, have the social skills, the empowerment, the liberty to develop them, these complaints into not so big complaints anymore. If you would like to take a look, and I'm cognizant of time, so I know I have 2 minutes, so I'm good. 20 minutes is horrible. I'm much better at 2 hours. This is just a selection, but I wanted to show this to you. So here we have London, well, it's the Olympics, but also London tourists, visit Britain, Ireland, Fáilte Ireland, the Netherlands, Dubai, Tourism New Zealand, and Singapore Tourism Board are a few of the examples that you can also go research online that have recognized that perhaps we don't need another conference center, but should reallocate massive training into massive funds into training of people. So my favorite example for this one is what Dubai is currently doing. It's very published. They're creating a new national tourism academy, not for management, for future management, for vocational level. And what they do fantastically well is, who is going to go there? Taxi drivers, immigration officers, gardeners, security guards, welcome nurses from the emergency room. They basically have done a very nice job at saying, where are my touch points with my tourists, by my visitors? Where do I have the possibility to influence positively the image they have about our emirate? And so they have expanded this, taken it and made it something national, not said it is just the hotels that need to take care of the training, but it is everyone in the tourism value chain. And I suspect if everything else goes well, that will be a very impactful, positive asset for the Emirates. But there's plenty of other examples. But just again, to encourage you and to warn you if you're in this field, this is starting to become more and more something that is on the radar. 5 years ago, when I suggested spending more time on training to one of my clients, they said, no, let's just build another spa or wellness. Now, the tide is turning. For recommendation, service training. It's what we heard before, and I can't say it better than Carlos. I'm not going to say it better, but invest in service, not in more napkin folding, not in more polishing, not in 6 more ways of cutting a Dover sole. That's done. Compensation. You will have to pay them more. That's the big no-no. Everybody says, we can't pay them more. You will have to. It's not even your choice, yours and any other destination. Why? Because less young people for more tourists, more specialized skills, and especially if you're in a destination where there's a natural tendency for many people to perhaps go to the bigger cities or so on, you will need, amongst other things, to provide attractive compensation mechanisms in order to make this a career rather than just a job until something better comes along. Modern training methods. My government, my country, did a beautiful 250-page briefing book for tourism workers. Nobody reads 250 pages nowadays anymore, and certainly the younger you get, the less you do. So there's a lot of very creative training methods where you may wish to invest in, training methods that are video-based, gamified, smartphone-based. There's all kinds of elements, and it's usually a combination, but think not only about what you want to train, but how you want to deliver it in order to reach your audience, your training client, which is your staff and future leadership. And lastly, leadership skills. What I mean by this is make sure that you train your middle management, your supervisors, your department heads, because we've seen across the world pretty much, but especially in Europe and to some extent North America, that the single biggest reason why there's high turnover and perhaps not very proactive staff is their direct manager. They are intimidated sometimes, they don't feel empowered. Basically, as you always, there's a saying that says, people join companies and they leave managers. That's pretty much true in tourism as well. So make sure that you valorize, increase, develop your middle and upper management so that they can basically support the younger talent so that the younger talent can go make money for you. This is not about being friendly only and nice. This is a pure die-hard commercial recommendation. Those that will do this will be able to loyalize much better. Those that don't will become a commodity, and then it's going to be, well, could be Madeira, could be the Cyprus, could be Greece, could be Spain, could be Algarve, could be Dubai, could be Pattaya. But if you have the ability of having people that deliver this, then they will want to come to you and to no one else. Thank you very much. I'll be taking. Goodbye.